Yes, the Fleche Wallonne, everybody. The bridge between the Amstel Gold Race, recently won by Stefan Schumacher. And then next weekend, it is the Liège-Bastogne-Liège. I'm Phil Liggett, flying alone this time without Paul Sherwin, who's back home in Uganda. But sit back now and enjoy the first part of what used to be the Ardennais weekend. Now, of course, it's not on a Saturday and Sunday, but a Wednesday and a Sunday. The ride is, in fact, not very far from Sunday's Amstel Gold Race, previous Sunday that is, not the one coming up. And they stay in the area now. This is a great base now for the couple of weeks for the riders to get the feel of the hills as the season really opens up. Now the Fleche Wallonne's been underway. It's over 202 kilometres, 3 laps up the Mer de Huy. The last time it's all out for the finish on the line right at the top. A vicious climb, as we'll see shortly. Axel Merckx is the rider doing a lot of work on the front here now, trying to break up this chase group, which really was the peloton. As you can see, there is a breakaway at 1 minute and 25 seconds. They were 4 riders. They're splitting up now. Frédéric Bichot of Agri-Turbel, Gorka Verdigo of Euskaltel, David Loosely, a Swiss rider on Lamprey, and Christophe Lemervel of Crédit Agricole. And there's a little glimpse of them from the air there. But the field here, or that rather, is the breakaway trying to get off the front of the peloton at the moment. A lot of good work going on. This is a very, very beautiful part of Belgium. Such a contrast to the Tour of Flanders and Ghent-Wevelgem, which are over in Flanders area. This is the Ardennes here now, a wooded pasture area where the roads are usually very, very good condition, quite narrow, and not many cars on them, even when there's no closure for a big bike race like the Fleche Wallonne. Just over 200 kilometres this race. And over the years has provided us with some great winners. The race first getting underway back in 1936. It's a bit further in those days, nearly 240 kilometres, and it's been up to almost 300 kilometres. But I think the organisers these days have decided to make it just over 200 kilometres. It's now seen by the majority of the Pro Tour teams as a perfect bridge to the Amstel Gold Race. A nice training race on a Wednesday afternoon for those with no ambition, of course, of doing well in Liège, and for the others, well, we'll just see how the legs are. Dominated by the Belgians over the years, but not completely. Last year, of course, it was the Spanish victory of Alejandro Valverde, only the second Spanish rider ever to win this race. The first came in Igor Astaloa back in 2003. And it's on these narrow roads that Axel Merckx, who's got into this breakaway and is working pretty hard, is saying goodbye to his cycling career. And Dad, of course, was a great winner of this race. He started winning this race, Eddy Merckx, back in 1967, which was my first year, by the way, as a journalist. And Merckx continued his winning ways in 1970, 1972. He really was a brilliant bike rider. Axel has had to live in the shadow of Dad, but I think he's cut himself out a pretty cool career anyway. Sklen is where we are right now, and the race running into the last 46 kilometres. And when our cameras give you some shots, we'll see the breakaway. But I think they've split up actually on the small climbs. We're heading back round to Huy. We're calling this the Groupe Poursuivant, which is the chase group. Eddy Merckx is the man that got these boys underway. Only 45 seconds spread now, so we're going to shortly see the big breakaway with what's left of it. They got away, by the way, the 40th kilometre into there, and here we are now. We're up with the leaders here. This is Gorka Verdigo, and he seems to have gone away on his own now from the rest of them. The last desperate effort. How often do we see this in world cycling? They just refuse to give up until they're actually caught. Well, it's worked in the past. You never know. But I think with 45 kilometres to go and a 40-second advantage on the blackboard, there's not much chance. Euskaltel-Euskadi, this is their sort of race. They're more the climbing team. They don't like riding in Paris-Roubaix or the Tour of Flanders, but they have to these days as a Pro Tour squad. And that was the only way I think they were ever persuaded to come over to these races. Now there's the peloton, angry mood. All that dancing on the pedals now for the moment is sitting in the saddle, as the pack itself just starts to plan now the capture and then the traditional shadow boxing before they start trying to move away. And this is the French rider here too. This is Christophe Lemervel, I think it is. There's the boy telecom rider on the front. So this is the head of the chase pack. as they continue to try and slowly but surely, very methodically, bring this group back to the fold. Just taking them through there is Thomas Löfqvist, the young Swedish rider on Française des Jeux. Watch out for him in the next couple of years. He really is going to be a great cyclist. As he makes his way through now. Löfqvist, the champion of his country as well. Looks pretty cool here just now, making his home in France. The workhorses of the day. This rider coming through now is Thomas Voelker. He's pushing it all the time to try and find the form that led him to that magical period in the Tour de France a couple of years ago, when he led none other than Lance Armstrong, who tried to take the jersey off him in the Alps and had to really show a great show of defiance to hang on by a few seconds on one particular stage. This is the River Meuse, which is the river that goes right through the middle of the Belgian Ardennes and onwards into Holland. And it's known as the Maas once it crosses the border. Many of the riders will base themselves in Maastricht, which is in Holland. They're not very far away from these riders right now. And they'll base themselves there for a possibly 2-week period, having moved down from the Ardennes, and the newcomers coming up from Italy and Spain, of course, for these particular races. A little bit narrow, isn't it? Especially we call for a service car at the back on the Côte de Bonneville, just on 8%, or 1 in 12, and 43 kilometres. And this group is getting away here now, so it's only short, kilometre to the summit. Chance for the motorbikes to get by and get out of that gap, because there's not much of a gap to the peloton right now. And Thomas Voelker here really is trying to push it home right now. And this is Benny de Schroeder, the Belgian rider. Chocolat Jacques, one of the non-pro tour teams, getting a ride in the Fleche Wallonne. Looks in, well, let's say he's in the spot of bother right now. 126 miles. This means a 5-hour ride today for those that go the course. And it makes for then a couple of days of easy pedalling in the area. Probably a little trip out to have a look at La Redoute, which could be a decisive climb in the upcoming Liège-Bastogne-Liège. Now you see the narrow ride here, and that is a very steep and sharp little climb here along the. You have to hold your position at the front of the peloton. That in itself means that you could be at the top end of your effort 2 or 3 kilometres before these climbs start. T-Mobile rider there's Michael Rogers now, who's starting to also show pretty good form. 3 times the world time trial champion, but wants to prove he's capable of leading his team this year in the Tour de France. A little bit of work still to be done on that. Now the riders start to push on here. This is a move by Cedric Vasseur, his dad Alain. Used to ride for the old big professional team. Cedric himself used to ride alongside Lance Armstrong on the old Postal Service squad.
Ils sont à 4 mètres. 4 mètres, 5
Just take a look at how fast these guys are revving up this climb here, trying to stretch out the riders and only produce the stronger ones at the front. Rogers looks over his shoulder, seeing what the damage is done. Vasseur got a nice little bit of a rhythm going here now. It's up to the rest to come and get him back. This is like a carrot hanging out in front of the proverbial donkey. Just looking on the roadside there, then you see there's no cars allowed down these roads. The spectators have to walk across the fields. The local village will look after the vehicles for a while. This is an area where it is a very small population, in fact, and yet the people still find their way to watch these races. They're extremely popular down here in the Ardennes. Even the Kermesse races, there are so many Kermesse races, the daily diet of Belgian cycling down this way. And I used to race on a professional team, an amateur team rather, top amateur team in Belgium, in Ghent. And as a big treat, we were all sent down to ride in this area. And the strange thing was that my teammates were Flemish and couldn't speak a word of French, and I certainly couldn't in those days. And so I always was bemused by the fact they'd knock on the doors, as you do in Belgium, and ask, can you get change in the house for the Kermesse, which is about to start, and they used to love you to do that. But you talk to somebody from your own country in sign language, because you couldn't speak French and they couldn't speak Flemish. always made me smile. I think less so these days now, because the international language, French and English, of the peloton, it seems to mean that more or less the riders can speak either language. There's the peloton slowly but surely nailing back that breakaway, which is still being led, I believe, by Gorka Vertigo. I haven't seen him come back into the pack. 25 miles to go, 17 seconds, and that's not to that group in front, I don't think, so it must be just on the tail now of Verdugo as we come over the top of Bonville.
Ça, 8 mètres de toi, 9 mètres. 9 mètres.
Now, as they put it all back together again, they're going to start deciding who's going to break this one up now, as it looks as though Team CSC are going to have a go. They've got a very strong team here. Karsten Kroon is a member of their team, and he's reportedly being headhunted by Rabobank now to replace the retiring Bogart this year. Vasseur is the rider, so I think they must have put back Vertigo on the climb of the Côte de Bonville. I missed it, maybe you saw it, but he's gone back into the pack, and Vasseur is the rider that the time is on now. Working a little bit hard and not actually going anywhere. There's a view from our cameraman, who could well be sitting on the tread of that helicopter there. We used to film from helicopters, and I used to actually sit alongside the cameraman, who used to sit outside, strapped to the bodywork of the helicopter. Never showed any signs of nerves, and sometimes the pilot would turn that helicopter inside out to get in the shot he wants. And sometimes you forget he was on the outside as well, which was always a little bit hazardous. But they're very special people, because when they look down the viewfinder, of course, they're largely seeing a black and white image. But they've got to find the riders for us. There's a beautiful view of the Ardennes. Still plenty of forest around. Cedric Vasseur, not the time to look over your shoulder, who's now 36 years of age, will be 37 in August this year. Probably one of his best rides, finished 24th overall in the 1998 Tour de France, but he's been around a while. This will be his 14th season as a professional, which is a long career. Almost twice as much as the anticipated career. I bet this is Philippe Gilbert having a go here. The man of the Ardennes, this is his home. And that's the end of the Frenchman Vasseur. Put back in his place. Only got one win last year. The Grand Prix Eastberge. But a win is a win, of course, and they don't just count wins when they look to sign new contracts. They also count your value to the team, as a teammate, as a workhorse, as a helper, as somebody to keep morale high. All counts when they start to look at your value as a pro next year. And Gilbert here now trains on these roads. This is his home ground. If the weather was like it was down in the south of France or Italy, then I would say this is a perfect all year round environment for training for big time bike racing. You've got everything you need. Well, Philippe Gilbert going away here. Good time to go at 36 kilometres to go. It's a big loop yet round back to the finish up the Huy. He won't want to go alone. He'll hope that somebody might come and join him here. They've split the field again. Scardine, it's not Vertigo there, because that rider's trying to get across to the leaders. I think Vertigo will be now back in this peloton. You can see the logistics here. They've only managed to get 4 cars through to the back of the peloton, which is slowly reformed here because of these narrow roads. Philippe Gilbert is still a very young man, just 24 years of age, but he shot to the top in this sport in his first season as a pro in 2003. Just looking off to the left there, that's Joaquim Rodriguez, tagged on to the back. Some man could well be thinking of a good result today, and he's got in the right half of the split, and he's assessing at the back as to see what progress it might make. Case Depart being led today by Alejandro Valverde. Valverde now going to start to shape up for the Tour de France. And the way the Tour de France entry is going, it's a question of who is going to ride the Tour de France, and then we might assess who's going to win it. Also up in this break, David Lopez, Garcia, number 3, just going through. Volkler pulled back into the pack. Nicky Sorensen of CSC and Astana also riding with intent today. They're being led in this race by Alexander Vinokurov. I think at this stage of the training for the Tour, I think Vinokurov for me might be one of the real hot favourites to win the Tour de France this year. Take revenge on his eviction last year when, no fault of his own, the organisers wouldn't allow us a short team to start when they kicked half them off for their involvement with Operation Puerto. Here's Philippe Gilbert. Winner of the Het Volk last year, don't forget, when he was second in his country's National Road Race Championship. Had 6 in Milan-San Remo a couple of years ago. And he signed the contract with FDJ after he won the points competition in the Tour de l'Avenir in 2003. And then he came out as a pro in 2002, I'm sorry. Came out in 2003 as a pro. And at 24 years of age and with 4 seasons under his belt, then I think he's still very much a developing force in world cycling. Oops, and he caught something there in the road. The Euskadil rider. And I think it was Unai Echeverria. No, it's not. It's Mikel Asteleza. Asteleza, who sat at the back there. On then. 34 kilometres to go. Race is on its final circuit, back towards Sweet. Still a little bit of a ride yet. Next climb will be the Côte de Boisseau. Then we go over the tops of that and slip down to the bottom of the Ben Ahan. Over that climb, down again, and then we're into the Huy.
Ok, je suis plan large, je recherche sur son visage.
Really going anywhere just now for Philippe. And the boys don't seem to be trying to counter-attack each other to get a group up to him. He's showing all the signs of him being reeled in by a big bunch of riders just now. He'll be enjoying the moment, of course. He's pretty well known here. Well, that's a shortcut for you. Must have been a mountain bike man in his previous life. Not the way to treat a couple of $1,000 worth of bicycle wheels, though. Sorensen on the front here. Wants a little bit more help. Looks like Axel Merckx is coming through now. Those long, tall legs.
7 mètres, 8 mètres, 10 mètres, ralenti.
Chabert's never had a top finish in Fleche Wallonne. You can see the peloton a little bit wiser here. They've got, oh, one hasn't. Oh, forget that. 1 or 2 showing their skills off. This is the art of Belgian cycling. They must all be from Flanders, I would think. I think some of the spectators there just spotted who was in the lead, Philippe Gilbert. Man with a French-sounding name because he comes from French-speaking Belgium in the Wallonne district. Just over 20 miles to go to the finish. Well, it's about time the Belgian riders had a result in Fleche Wallonne, quite honestly, because although they dominated this race through the early years, and more or less right through to the end of the Merckx era in the mid-70s. They don't win it quite so often these days. A lot of victories by the Italians, especially Moreno Argentin, who won the race 3 times. Lance Armstrong got this one too in 1996. And really the only recent Belgian champions have been Mario Urts, who's still riding, in 2002, and Rick Verbrugge in 2001. A bit of an effort here coming out from, I think this is Tim Klinger here, Gerolsteiner. won the Amstel Gold so convincingly 3 days ago, Stefan Schumacher, is in the team. We haven't seen too much of him. Cote de Boisseau, a mere 4%, a sprinter's paradise as they race up this one. Short, sharp and pretty steep. And I think this might be Sorensen again trying to go away. Oh, it's a Castapern rider, so it won't be Sorensen, it must be David Lopez. And really hurting them. They decided this is the time to try and split that breakaway and give Philippe Gilbert a little bit of help on the left of our picture. And they've got 3 of them going clear. Quick reassessment, see who's made the split. That's Joachim Rodriguez, I'm pretty sure now, from Castapern. And I think it is Alexander Vinokourov who's come up with them. And these 3 riders now trying to get clear. No, it's not Vinokourov, that. That's not Vinokourov. I don't think he's going to make much difference anyway. Another counter-attack. You've got to keep the pressure on now if you're going to crack the peloton here, which is quite a big size. There's Boyga Telecom also launching an attack down there. Very good opening of the gap as well, with a huge effort. I can only think that somebody like Voigtler could launch such an attack. That's Astana here at the front. Do a false flat. There's the Boyga Telecom rider trying to reach them. Rodriguez, oh, it's Kessler and Effenkeem. Effenkeem's the Barlow World rider. Yes, and Barlow World, he's in the red jersey. Alexander Effenkeem, he has a very famous brother as well, but this one, at 25 years of age, having a great season and trying to get a place. It's an outside chance for a wild card in the Tour de France, I think, for Barlow World. They've tried on an annual basis for the Tour of Italy, failed every time, and haven't got one this time around either, but they are riding well. They're right at the top of the Continental Pro Team classification, and Effenkeem is one of the drivers of that because he won the Giro del Capo, which is a small race in Cape Town, South Africa. Won it well, and he's also won a race in Lombardia, a stage race there as well. 2-day event, so he's on good form. Lots of cheers for Gilbert. You probably wouldn't recognise him if he was out for a Saturday afternoon training ride through the same area, but today he's in his full kit and heading Fleche Wallonne. And he's got some strong men here. Now, aren't these beautiful roads for riding your bike? Not necessarily under pressure. Narrow, pleasant, wooded, springtime of course, although the trees now look as though they're in full leaf. And a good move here, especially with Matthias Kessler in it. There's Effenkeem. I think he's trying to assess here what the chances are of success before he decides whether to help or not. He is a strong rider. Russian cyclist. Joined Barlow World as a pro last year, didn't win anything, but this year 4 wins already. Gilbert on the left, the chase coming up on the right. Perfect combination, 3 strong boys. Once they recover from the initial attack. Rodriguez leading the charge and being left to his own devices on the climb there. Matthias Kessler coming across this year from T-Mobile to Astana, to a very strong team. One ambition for that team this year, win the Tour de France. That's all they're working towards. Now he's seen the opposition. It looks a bit more than just 3 riders. They've closed right up behind by the look of it. Inside 19 miles to the finish. And Gilbert, well, he's a wise man. Deep in the forest of Ardennes, no cyclists are visible. Let's hope we can find which way they're tracking. All together again, brought up by leaky gas here. Danilo De Luca is their team captain today. Winner of this race in 2005. Says he's aiming really for Liège-Bastogne-Liège. Like all of the riders, you're in the area, so you may as well ride. And if you don't fancy your chances, do 150 kilometres, and when you pass through Huy, climb off. That's will be the thinking of some of the riders today, but not judging by the size of the peloton down there. The weather very favourable, beautiful spring. Perhaps they're deciding to stay the distance. When you come into the Finish Fouille, by the way, a helicopter might pick it up, but there is a menagerie at the top. And the seals are there and various animals. It does its best business, I think, when the Fleche Wallonne is in town, because there's only a couple of small restaurants and a bar on top of the Fouille itself. And there are many, many thousands of people from bottom to the top. So a rethinking of the squad here now, as they all come back together again. Who's next to make the move? We're over the top of the climb that caused all the problems. We're over the top of the Bonville, and here comes an attack now. Not surprising, you probably hear the gears crashing by Lamprey. Looks over his shoulder. This looks like Pachivia, who tried the move. Stage win in Paris-Nice last year. Made his name there, I think. Still looking to confirm that as they pass through what is the feeding station. No, and not done to attack at the feed, but it looks as though they're not going to ignore that. They're going to ignore that rule right now as they stretch the race again. And now a big effort here from Discovery Channel. They're being led today by Alberto Contador, or I think will be that big man along with Popovic for the Tour de France. Vladimir Gusev continues to develop as one of their best new riders on that squad. Of course, a new sponsor required, if you know of one.
Ouais, pas les gars devant.
They're getting, I think, as the season unfolds, they're going to get pretty desperate to refill the Discovery Channel's withdrawal. Rather sad that, because it's been a tremendous team. What a history it's got.
Moi, je crève de soif.
Another move by Astana. Unless the boy's got the riding style of Vinokurov. You may have a great television back home, but I'm commentating on a different picture. It looks to me like Vinokurov back there, who's now getting himself up to the front. Through up on the inside now, Predictor Lotto. They got the victory here a couple of years ago as Lotto with Mario Hertz. Not a very big peloton now, we get that sort of a shot on it. Maybe 45 riders, 50 could be. Hard to say, but there's not so many cars behind now, so this group itself seems to have got itself clear of the rest of the race. At this stage of the game, knowing the hills of this race, they're not like the end of Liège-Bastogne-Liège on Sunday, or indeed the Amstel Gold on the previous Sunday. So they've got a real chance here of getting a result. It's not unknown to produce a surprise result. Fleche Wallonne, mobile rider there, saying he didn't want the drink. The Rabobank rider here is Will Walker, a young man we saw race around a park in Geelong, about 100 kilometres outside of Melbourne, when he was a kid, and he lapped the field, and Robin McEwen finished second, was the first to congratulate him. And that's when we met Will Walker, and now he's a flyer. Rabobank took him on the nursery squad, and this year he's got every chance of being a star. He's expected to be in the team for the Giro d'Italia, and he's about 23, I think he is. He might just be tickling 24 now, Will Walker. The next Australian generation. A bit of effort on the outside. These exposed roads, everybody clapping their hands. There's no rain, cold or driving snow today, which could well have been the case, because these barren fields here make it a most unpleasant day out. This is Volker again here. Again a reaction once more. It is Astana who is showing great attention right now to try and get into a move. This is the feeler moments now, the tentacles of the octopus as they push out to see which one might succeed. Michael Rogers driving at the front. Interesting little group this. They tried to lift it up just that extra 3 or 4 kilometres an hour, see if they can split the field, but they can't push it on. Nobody seems to want to help them. Slipping right down to the back now, the Boyd Telecom rider, as Xavier Florencio, Spanish rider on the French squad. Sonia Duval, time for them to have a go now. This is a very determined effort right now. Let's look at the gaps between the wheels as the riders try to react. But that, again, you see the rider from Sonia Duval wants somebody else to come through. Astor on the second wheel, not interested. So the pack regroup at the front. Like Bram Tanking moving up. Too much concern. Wrong riders in the breakaway. They're not going to push this one. The combination isn't the one that's going to click today. Still got the climb of the Côte d'Ahan to come. That'll take us through 190 kilometers. And some 12 left to go, so they're trying to get clear for the climb. What amazes me is these boys don't seem to want to help one another. They're launching individual efforts. When they get countered, somebody else goes, but nobody's helping each other. This is at the stage of the race when you want the common enemy, the peloton, to drop out of it and then start to worry about it. There's the man working on his bike, and there's the commissaire keeping an eye on him. Sergei Ivanov, former champion of the Soviet Union. Hard to recognize him in his new Astana colours. Finished 9th in this race last year, Sergei. He's been around a long time as well as Ivanov. I remember too, he won a stage of the Giro del Capo I mentioned earlier. The hill climb stage it was, on the climb of Signal Hill, which is the big mountain overlooking Table Mountain and Cape Town. And he went so fast, he eliminated in just a 6-kilometer ride 52 riders. There was a huge protest. The commissaire wouldn't come out of the caravan. He'd gone into, retreated very quickly, as angry managers were outside, and he refused to come out because he had no intention of letting anybody back in the race because of the exceptional ride of Ivanov. I remember Gregor Braun, who was a great bike rider, was now the manager of a German team, complaining he brought a young German team in March to South Africa for good training, and they've just been all eliminated from the race, and he wasn't very pleased. And when you see the size of Gregor Braun, I think I'd have stayed in the caravan as well. And this is Sergei, who is now 32, only just. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt, it was in March. And like a number of riders, he's come across from the T-Mobile squad this year. They reshaped the team. With a bit of a puffing and blowing here from Thomas. He really is an aggressive rider. I'm never too sure about his tactics, but this boy is a great racer. Gets out up front and he goes as best as he can till his legs won't take him any further, and so for that reason alone he does get into moves. With the state of the wobble smart cameraman there, couldn't quite hold that shot as he gets around that switchback. Peloton, if anything, looks a bit bigger again now. Quite a lot of team cars have got up behind the race. Another attack, not looking too successful right now. 23.5 kilometers to go. That's just on 15 miles to finish, and a chance to look at the world number one, Paolo Bettini, currently the world champion and the Olympic champion, A superb person and a great cyclist, of course. Winner of the Tour of Lombardy last year. A very big win for him following the death of his brother in a car accident, which hit him pretty hard. They call him the Cricket. And right now, he's just hanging out at the back. A move of foot, perhaps. Case de Pan. 3 possible winners here in Valverde and Rodriguez, Sanchez, even Constantino Zabaya. We've got a great team here. This is a super team, the Case de Pan. Be a huge team to reckon with, I think, in possibly the Giro, but certainly the Tour de France. I don't expect Valverde to be up for the Giro d'Italia, but certainly he's going to go in as a first or second favourite to win the Tour de France, I think. Get his revenge because it was on Belgian roads, not very far away from where he is right now, where he crashed out of the Tour last year. It was in Verviers as he was racing to the finish in Holland in Valkenburg. He never made Dutch soil. Rodriguez also crashed there on that occasion as well. A little bit close. Riders don't seem to be worrying too much. Well, somebody's put the orders out here for the domestics to start riding. And they are going right now. You see the quality of the roads around this region. They're always kept up to scratch, despite the fact there's very little ever used them. Deep in the forest in the Ardennes. And any road off, that's when you see one, of course, usually goes uphill in this region. Pretty steeply as well. You can base yourself in these towns. You'll find sort of pubs or cafes, as they call them here, that will do bed and breakfast and love cyclists. Base yourself here for a couple of days and enjoy the hospitality and some wonderful bike rides, and you can ride into 2 other countries as well. We're obviously concerned then about the move here by Astana. This is Sergei Ivanov still away, but he is a strong boy and he's a good time trialist if you let him loose. Pretty sure his best ever finish was last year in the Fleche. But he's been the national champion 4 times of Russia. And they've got some great cyclists, so that's not a giveaway title at all. Many of the Russian riders now, with the dissolution of the Soviet Union, base themselves in Italy. And not just Russians, of course, but all the other countries we'd never heard of when they were once under the umbrella of the Soviet Union, like Belarus, and all now producing wonderful cyclists. Ukraine. He's really pulling the best out of the Case de Pan team here as they continue now. Volkler has got himself locked in at about 4th wheel. Also searching for the magical form for the big Grand Tours. He's a Grand Tour rider, as he showed us in the Lance Armstrong era. Just on 12 miles to go to the finish now. We're not too far away from the Côte Ben Ahin. Springboard to victory? I don't know. I'd be forgiven there for thinking we weren't watching a motorcycle race. As we now go back down, and it looks as though Paolo Bettini has had enough here. He got his win in the Tour of California, but really apart from that victory, he hasn't been going that well. He was really pleased to get the win in the Tour of California. The Amgen Tour was a big success, and Paolo wanted to be seen in California as a world champion and a winner. He got his way there, but I think he's not feeling too clever right now. The big leaky gas rider there, Eros Capecchi, Italian. Looks like Sergei's front forks. Still looks pretty good here. We're on the Ben Ahin now. And leaky gas, obviously De Luca is thinking of a repeat with victory here. He's got through at this stage of the race. He decides that the team could do well. Nice little country retreat in the backdrop here. We can see it, but Ivanov can't. as he concentrates now on holding off the field. He's forged out 27 seconds. It's nothing great at all, but the race has been under extreme pressure these last few kilometres. So if they're going to come back to him, they're going to have to make a huge effort. 9 miles to go. Hasn't quite shown the form he had last year on T-Mobile, because he'd already finished 10th in the Amstel Gold Race before he came here last year. Big effort being made again by Sonia Duval. Looks as though it might be Jose Alberto here. And the only other guy I think it's likely to be is Maury. And of course it's Kobo, as it would be. I don't remember him being quite so good looking, but it doesn't matter as he moves clear of the camera. And there's the move he made. And no reaction whatsoever from the field. One man on his own. They probably think, well, do what you like and we'll pick you up over the top. But in the distance you see all the vehicles with the lights on, and the commissaire here calling by everybody in the gap. Not a good sign here for Ivanov, and that's why Kobo caught in no man's land and the field bunching up behind. Two splits, and he's, well, if anything, it doesn't, the camera doesn't tell lies, neither does the time. It doesn't look like 30 seconds to me. Good to see Barlow World again trying to force the weight into the picture. New design of the jerseys for them this year in the hope that they will make the Tour de France. And again, Rabobank pushing out the boat. Thomas Dekker having a go here. Another young talent of the future. Big effort, never went anywhere. And the field right up onside him again. Well, Kobo's done his job well. He's reached him. 15 kilometres from the finish, and look at that, exactly the same on our GPS system. Now, can Ivanov just grit his teeth and grab that back wheel just for a second to get a bit of relaxation while Kobo drives on? Juan Jose Kobo, also a man on form, did well in the Pays Basque, 2-stage wins in the overall. It's a good race for a Spanish rider to do well in. And that's 3 wins in the same race. And since he turned pro in 2004, you guessed it, he's got 3 wins. But this is now back from injury, and he's looking as though he's really enjoying his cycling again. Very much the style now. Danilo De Luca, his team's worked hard, got rid of them all, trying to do it himself. 18 seconds just on the effort of De Luca on the front here. Former winner of this race, the killer in action. So all you guys I know watching this video on your turbo rollers, it's time now for a hard session, I reckon, as they continue to chase down the tandem at the front, which is a Spanish-Russian tandem. And Kobo, inspired by his newfound legs, I think, this year, is quite happy to keep going. The blocking work trying to be done by Astana to disrupt the effort of the De Luca, who seems to have actually cracked the elastic and has opened the gap with a superb piece of riding here. But he's not going to catch that. Well, I take my hat off. He is going to go for that counter-attack and try. And this is Kim Kirken, the champion of Luxembourg. Kirken now. These are huge efforts being made by the riders, but all individual though. They are at the top end of the power right now, and that's why any one of these could break the peloton up. It's going to leave a lot of weak riders for the finishing climb up the Huig, which is now only, well, the start of the climb is only 12 kilometres away. Terrific ride by Ivanov. Remember, he went on his own first. Kobo did well to reach him. Helicopter panning down the whole long single line of the peloton. There's the two leaders. Here comes the help. Kirken is one of them. Another great bike rider is Kim Kirken. Luxembourg all of a sudden have 4 or 5 really got top bike riders at that very small Grand Duchy, landlocked in the middle of Europe. The best ever rider, of course, was Charlie Gaulle. The early champion was Nicolas Franz. Put his name on the record books long before we even knew of the bike races. Rodriguez again tacked onto the back of that. And this is now looking a much stronger breakaway. 5 guys have got control here, including the 2005 winner. Danilo De Luca. And leaky gas slowing it down at the front. Everybody looking at each other, just like amateurs do. But these are top pros that are assessing whether to make the move or not. 5 men clear, but the gap has come down to only 10 seconds at 13 to go. De Luca knows he started something. Now can he open the gap? Continuing to wind it up, checking on the riders. He looked back the wrong time, of course, because now the group's around the corner. He didn't see them. Now he does. Kirken willing to push on too. And Kirken, he is in his 7th season as a pro now. 29, in fact, during the Tour de France. Well, no, I'll correct that. 2 days before the start of the Tour de France. And they assemble in at London, so maybe you make the team.
Oui, c'est passé.
There he goes. Rodriguez. Ivanov. Kobo. Good breakaway, strong men. Kobo and Ivanov are sat at the back now because the pace has gone up a little bit and they're tired. Kobo might recover. I'm not so sure whether Ivanov can. Rodriguez just waiting. Danilo De Luca checking them all out, making them come through. Kobo shaking his head a little bit. Not ready yet. Turn the heat up in the oven as the riders continue. 6 seconds the gap. I think De Luca knows he's going to have to sit out on this one and start again. Well, the same 6 seconds to a second group as they've come to 20 seconds now, so there must be somebody crossing the gap. Alejandro Valverde, we haven't seen him all day, but there he is. Popovic, Decker, Moreni, these 4 riders now. Thomas Decker, the star of Rabobank of the future and of the past. He really is a top bike rider. Tirreno Adriatico last year. That's a huge win at his age, 21 then. This is a very, very strong move. There's the leaders, and if these boys can get it together, then it might well be goodbye to the peloton before the finish. Looks like the style of Simon Gerrans on the front of the peloton down there, the Aussie on Team AG2R. Meanwhile, back in the main field here, this is Discovery Channel's Popovic. He was obviously marking Valverde, went with him on the move. Moreni sitting at the back here, rides for Cofidis these days. Oh, how that back hurts. Never mind, we'll shake it out. And this is the link about to happen. Huge effort. You bet your life Decker's done a lot of the work here. He's such a brilliant time trialist. Decker's just over 22 right now, and a tremendous ride. Already got a win in the Polenta Tour, Trophy Polenta. Polenta, it is. But if Rodriguez knows his boss is coming up, he might slow down. Kim Kirken sitting on him. That means they've got rid of the rest. Over the top of the climb, it's everybody heads down for the bottom of the 3 now. Just Just over 10 kilometres or 6 miles to go. Well, the chase was fast and furious there. It's going to all come together. This has got all the feel of a mad dash up the Mer de Huy, which for the riders, though we weren't on air when they went up it the first 2 times, for the riders, of course, this is their 3rd ascent and the one that counts. This is Rodriguez again. The boss is no longer coming up. I guess he's free to fly. There's Kirkin, got rid of him. Oh, there is Valverde, De Luca. They haven't been got. I thought they've been caught, but they're right there. The caption showing no breakaway now. Whether that means the peloton is just on the back wheels, but maybe not. They've obviously linked up on that climb. De Luca undecided here. It's a huge effort and a very difficult decision to make. You're making serious efforts here, which is taking your energy, and you're not sure whether you want to spend it just now or keep it in the bank for later. It's a big decision, because these are 3 rides of quality. De Luca just made the decision as he now goes, and Valverde very quick to spot him. Kim Kirk a little bit slow, but he's still got fight in those legs. Down to this beautiful little village. There aren't very many cobbled roads in this area, but they do exist. They're not like Flanders, of course, but occasionally you pick them out. De Luca, Valverde, Kirken. And at the moment, the breakaway, when it looked like it was a solid breakaway, has been split up. There's Kobo, Thomas Dekker, just reached for the handlebars rather quickly there. Last year, Dekker, his only win was the overall in the Tirreno Adriatico. What a race for a Dutchman to win. So he's under pressure here just now. He's finding the effort at the front a little bit hard to control. In fact, he's dropping back here. Maybe he doesn't like going downhill. He's got that ungainly shape for descending. A little bit tall. Christian Moreni is the big danger right now, third wheel, if these boys can reach the leaders. Which I presume are still ahead. I'm not sure, maybe these are the leaders and the other 3 are now in between again. And here they are. Oh, they are the leaders. Valverde, Kirkin, De Luca, the other 4 were dropped on the attack there. Up the Aha. And it looks as though Kim Kirken got himself into good shape right now. And De Luca is what I'd call a dinky little rider. He rather rides like Stephen Roach used to ride, the great Irish cyclist who did the big triple back in 1987 of the Giro, Tour and the world title. Beautiful peddler of charm. Sits there and just works that bicycle as fast as it'll go. And not afraid to overwork either. When you're carrying somebody the quality of Valverde, who won this race last year on your back wheel, you think you would want to ride with a little bit of precaution, but De Luca doesn't ride that way. Ivanov, Kobo, Moreni, these are the boys I think are, that breakaway is going away from them. Former time trial champion of the Netherlands trying to hold the race together. Well, at 6.6 kilometers to go, if this was a flat finish, I would say they would survive, but it's not. They come down into the finishing town of Spa, and then we are up the hill to the finish. Rodriguez now has been on the front a long time today, blocking and attacking. He's worked very, very hard. And I think he's having big trouble now.
km, avant 5 km.
Just on 8 kilometres to there, 6 kilometres rather to the finish.
C'est lui qui est en tête.
This is Rodriguez, and I think I never saw him go, but he's just ahead of the race here. He's no more than a handful of seconds from that breakaway, but I didn't see him get away. That's why Valverde is sitting on De Luca, though. He's not going to chase down this man, give him a chance for a big result. And this must be the third group on the road now, and the peloton, and they're just ahead. We can see one or two riders. Good road, but they still roll and not flat yet. We drop down eventually into the valley before we climb away. One win, Rodriguez, this year, and 4 kilometres to go. This will be down as his best ever victory. He's never won a major event. He did lead the Vuelta for a couple of days back in 2003. That was when he shot to the fore, and he did finish second in the San Sebastian Classic a couple of years ago. But last year, his Spring Classic campaign, his best result, I think, was 11th in Liège-Bastogne-Liège. So he's testing his legs today for just a couple of days away in the same area, when interest moves across to Liège. Decker leg group down there. There they are. 3.2 kilometres, they've bridged. Huge effort. What a great ride that is by Thomas Decker, and what a huge talent that man is. And the other more aged professionals, happy to let him use his youthful exuberance and make the most of it. And first chance they get, they'll attack him and make him pay for it. Rodriguez versus a very compact chase group, and not much further back is the peloton, so he hasn't won this yet, but he still looks as though he's got a bit of fight left in those legs today. Joaquin Rodriguez, 27 years of age. Should he get to ride the Giro d'Italia, he'll celebrate his 28th birthday during it. More busy these roads on a normal day as we drop away from the beautiful Ardennes hillsides, heading down now towards Spa. And look at this now. This is the AG2R boys now driving this race on. They're led today by Christophe Moreau and Samuel Dumoulin. Simon Gerrans has been doing a lot of work down there. Former champion of France Ludovic Turpin is in there as well. 15 seconds the gap, and they might be responsible here for closing this right down. They've clearly sensed that they still have a chance in this race. It's not over by any manner of means. Running down towards Spa, we're going to hit the mountain now. As we swing onto it, up towards the finish, and Rodriguez is going to see it first. Well, I really didn't think he'd survive this far, but he has, and now these boys are now going to try and shut it down. That's Simon Gerrans driving on the front to close it down. The big man is Christophe Moreau. He'll be the man expected to do when we get to the last part of the climb. They're very, very close to that group. It's not such a big gap at all. We're not getting time checks now. But this looks as though it's going to all come together. They must have wiped out that breakaway. Off our cameras again, we never saw it. That's Rodriguez as they're about to hit the climb. Can you believe that? Peloton Group A as they now race all out for the finish. Well, I really thought we had at last seen a breakaway succeed here, but no, they're going to hit this, and this is a vicious climb, by the way. It's 25% at its steepest, and we're just starting it now. 1 kilometre to go. Predictor Lotto, Mario Hertz was on the front there. This is where it starts. And if you're not in the first dozen now, you can forget it. It's a shame our cameras can't always show you just how hard it is. An average grading just under 10%, it's 1.3 kilometres, so just a mile long, give or take a few metres. And the secret now is, you get one chance at this, you get one effort, and you've got to make sure it's the right one at the right time. Two efforts, you're not allowed that luxury, because the steepest part of the climb is on the top. It'll hairpin round to the right and then the left as they start now the move up the climb. So we've got Kessler up here. No sign at all of Alexander Vinokurov. Already the gap is opening, riders are tired. There's Decker going back, I think. Already you can see by the face of these boys, it's just let's get to the top, and position doesn't count. Their day is done. Alexander Vinokurov's off to the right, I think. On the climb itself. Kessler is in here. There's the left-hander. Now it's getting really steep, and they're just grinding everybody off the wheels of one another, because that looked like Valverde had tagged onto the back of that little escape group. Huge crowd, all orderly, unusual that for the Belgians. And Kessler is in there for the Stania, but he looks to be the only one. That's Noscentini is the AG2R rider, and the white jersey, first time I've seen him all day, is the Pro Tour leader, David Rebellin, and we all know what happened to him a couple of years ago. He wiped out all of the classics in this area, and Rebellin is now in a perfect position here. He's on the wheel of Kessler, as he now continues, and he's holding his effort back here. De Luca's trying to get in on the act despite the effort he's made already. Danilo De Luca might have made a move too late, because David Rebellin is going to repeat his victory here of a couple of years ago in the Fleche Wallonne. He hasn't won, of course, the Amstel Gold Race this time. He could go on to win Liège-Bastogne-Liège, but he's won certainly the event in the middle. And David Rebellin, I don't think with a huge effort here, is going to be caught at all. That's a terrific result. He hits the line first. Deja vu for him. Just under 5 hours. Good time today. And Valverde's in the sprint with De Luca. De Luca looks at Valverde. Valverde gets second. De Luca third. Kessler fourth. And I think that was Ricardo Rico who's just come over in fifth in the Sonny Duval colours. John Gadre on the right here, across the line. Good high result for him. Top 10, I would guess. Fabien Weckman, Oscar Freire also coming in. Such a strong rider, Freire. He'll cross the line maybe in the top 10. But there is the winner of the day, David Rebellin of Gerolsteiner. He's got himself a great result today. He really did gamble. We never saw him in any of the moves. That race came together at the base of the climb, and then he put in an appearance. And you can see just how long the hill damages these riders. They continue to drift in over the riders. Rebellin, there he is, takes his earpiece out. I can't say I ever agree with radios, but there we are. 35 years of age at the moment. His first win of the year. He started off well this year, finishing second in Paris-Nice, and he held the race too for 3 days, race lead in Paris-Nice. Then got second in the Amstel Gold Race. That ruined the chance of the triple. He's come back good today. He's disappointed in losing, but he lost, of course, to a teammate in the Amstel Gold Race. But Gerolsteiner on a high right now. Can't do a thing wrong. Pick which one might win in Liège-Bastogne-Liège. Such a huge effort to climb that hill at full-out effort. You can't even afford a smile at the finish. But you can afford to throw kisses to the crowd. So Rebellin is back. What can he do in Liège-Bastogne-Liège? So as we look down here on the lovely town of Spa, let's have a look at the result of the 71st Fleche Wallonne. I hope you've enjoyed it. Rebellin winning the race from Valverde, De Luca, Kessler, Rico. Noscentini 6th. Frank Fleche, one of the two brothers there from Luxembourg, gets 7th. John Gadre, he got 8th in the end. And the top 10 completed there by Valjevec of Slovakia. Well, what a beautiful race that was, but there's an awful lot more to come, of course, here on World Cycling Productions, and next up we will be showing you Liège-Bastogne-Liège, while at the moment we're showing you the winner of the 71st Fleche Wallonne, David Rebellin. Just off our camera is the Badger. There he is in the middle there, always hiding. Badgers do that. That's Bernard Hinault, another one of the world great cyclists ever, and also a man that knows all about doing well here in this event. Hinault won this race back in 1983, and before that in 1979, the first year after he rode the Tour de France, and won that, of course, as well. Congratulations all round. He's smiling now, and Gerolsteiner are laughing at everybody just now. They're having a wonderful springtime. So there we are, a final look across the rooftops of Spa, and just in the distance there is the course for Sunday's Liège-Bastogne-Liège. Stay with us and enjoy the rest of the season. Goodbye.